It's Rock here from the Whisky Library. Today I'm here with a Scottish whisky. Actually, to be honest with you, this whisky has had a lot of hoo-ha about it recently. Years ago, you wouldn't touch it with a barge pole, and then there's a dramatic shift happening in this whisky, and then bang, 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 whisky award after whisky award. And that whisky is Glenallachie, and today we'll be looking at the 12-year-old. Stay tuned. So it's probably only whiskey nerds that know about the Glenallachie whiskey. In fact, for years, this whiskey was, you might say, almost reviled. It's a fairly new whiskey distillery, kicked off in the 60s, 67, 68. It was built as a new distillery. It's been through a few owners. And then there was this seismic shift, and Billy Walker took over in 2017. And Billy Walker, I suppose you might say he's a little bit of an entrepreneur actually, because he's been involved in ownership of a few different distilleries. Deanston, Tobermory, he's worked for Shivers, and then sort of, you know, when Shivers owned Benriach and Glendronach, he sort of spent a bit of time there, and then they went over to Brown-Forman, and his, you know, is probably one of his most famous last whiskies there that he was responsible for was the Glendronach 15-year-old, which here in the Whisky Library is literally one of the best whiskies and most favourite whiskies. Always have a bottle and just love drinking that Glendronach 15-year-old, the Billy Walker version. I'm not convinced it changed much after Billy Walker left, but in 2017 he did leave Benriach and Glendronach, and then he, along with some other partners, actually purchased Glenallachie, and that was about 2017 that he purchased this whiskey. Almost from the day he took over, things started to change. He did some experimental cask releases, and then about 3 years ago, released the new packaging that we see here. And in fact, here we are in, so it's about February 22 now, and there's, you know, the 10-year-old cask strength has won Whisky of the Year. It's gone absolutely bananas, pardon the pun, which brought a lot of attention back to Glenallachie. And actually, you know, this Glenallachie 12-year-old was actually Ralphie's Whisky of the Year in 2019. So soon after he took it over, and you know, Ralphie's always on the edge. He knows a good whiskey when he tastes one. Now, Glenallachie means a valley of the rocks, so we know Glen's valley of something. In this case, it's a valley of the rocks. And you know, the saying on here that they are doing a long, slow fermentation. I think that's one of Billy's, maybe perhaps his secrets. You know, being heavily involved in particularly the blending and distilling process. You know, he knows a few secrets out there. One of them is, you know, to spend a bit more time in the fermentation of the malt to really bring out the flavors. And here we are. So what we're going to do is crack open this bottle of Glenallachie 12-year-old. We've done a little bit of previous testing here where I've just made some notes on what I thought. It says on the colour there, if we're looking at the colour, it says burnished mahogany. And I was trying to think of a good name for the colour, and I thought, oh, well, you know, it is a really almost red sort of colour. So, you know, I suppose deep red. So you're thinking, you know, timber's a classic example, a sort of a mahogany timber. So yeah, a very dark colour, and maybe more so for 12-year-old. You know, you'd look at this and think, wow, that could easily be a 15-year or an 18-year-old whiskey in there. Now, well, you know, I've actually spent a couple of nights here in the Whisky Library just cracking open this bottle, giving it a bit of a, I suppose, a nosing and a bit of a tasting, and trying to get my feel for it. And I'll be honest with you, actually, it changed from day to day. So even today, when I've opened this up, I'm getting different flavour notes. Today, I'm getting the honey. You know, there's a lot of talk about these Glenallachies, particularly this 12-year-old having a lot of honey and banana, fruit sort of notes, raisins. I mean, you get the raisins, always get the raisins. It's hard to think in banana terms. You know, when you come in from the Whisky Library, we do bourbons here as well as single malt Scotch whiskies. And so many of the bourbons, particularly the likes of Jack Daniel's, some of the Tennessee bourbons, there's so much banana in those whiskies. So when people say, oh, they get banana in a Scotch whiskey, try smelling Jack Daniel's single barrel. So yeah, honey, raisins. Raisins, honey, butterscotch. Oh, look, I put down in my notes earlier, I thought I got some nutty sort of notes. Almond. But to be honest with you, you know, this is Speyside whiskey, so from Speyside region of Scotland, and tastes like a Speyside. I get that. I just feel like there's a depth there, but then it runs out. And now I'm not picking up on the almonds per se, I suppose, depending on the time. Now, look, I might just add a little bit of water, actually. Maybe that was a difference. The last time I tasted this, I did put some water in it. Now, I don't know who, I've got this, I've got in my mind that you have to drink this Glenallachie with water. I don't know why. Maybe just speaking with maybe just speaking with people in the industry that know the brand, know that it just opens up with a bit of water. A lot of these whiskies produced by Billy Walker now at Glenallachie, they're quite high proofs. You know, the cask strengths are high 50s, even low 60s, and this is 46% alcohol. So I think to be honest, a little bit of water won't go straight. I didn't use my Glencairn dropper that time. You poured it straight out of my Glencairn Iona water jug. It was a great jug, still great jug, just with some filtered water in there. You know, yeah, so it's opened up more fruit notes. I'm just getting more honey, more banana, more hints of mango, much more tropical fruits opening up in there. And you know, the finish is a nice finish. It's a long finish, 46%. It's a decent amount of alcohol by volume in there, and I think the flavours are fantastic. It's got to be a whiskey that everybody will like. Touch of water in there, just open up the flavours. It's beautiful. Now, on the Whisky Library, we like to give things a rating, as does everybody in the Scotch whisky community. But you know, it helps gauge, gives us a gauge on comparing the whiskies. And you know, to be honest, we've got tasted a lot of whiskies here through the Whisky Library, but taste is very subjective. But I think this is a high quality whiskey. I could see why it's won awards. And you know, you go back a few years with Jim Murray, for example, and this Glenallachie received scathing reviews. You know, you go back some of the early 2010, 12, around that era. This whiskey was just being being poleaxed by the likes of Jim Murray and so on. So it's come a long way, and I think it's fair enough too. I think the price is not bad for, you know, we're relatively well-known brand. I think the price is up there. I think we're in Australia, so this bottle would be probably $120 odd. So for a 12-year-old, you know, given I could probably get Glendronach 15 for $150, it's up there, I think. But, you know, look, to be honest with you, it's worth spending the money. I want to give it a 90, but I think that's being a little bit generous. I probably would give it an 88. I'm going to give it an 89, 1 point, because it's purple. And over in the Whisky Library here, over in the back corner, you may not be able to see it, we have a whole shelf dedicated to purple bottlings. That's because Rocky in the Whisky Library, his favourite colour is purple. And you might say, well, that's a bit strange, but Actually, you get a lot of good bottles that come in purple. Famous grouse, Glenlivet among many others. And one day we might go over there to the purple corner and actually look at some of the whiskies that we have there in the purple corner. Some crackers in there. And some really unusual ones that mostly you probably never heard of. All right, so that's 89 out of 100 Glenallachie, 12-year-old. We've been doing a bit of Scotch whiskey, and I intend to do some more bourbons actually, because we've got a lot of good bourbons in here. But also, you know, we've just had some new arrivals of Australian whiskies. We had, maybe had a shot here, but we had Hobart whiskey come in, and we've also just had a couple of bottles of this Smith Anguston whiskey from South Australia, Rutherglen. So this just literally landed today. Tiny little bottle, but unique Australian bottle. So look, but it's so good doing the content for Australian whiskies if there's not the audience or people aren't interested in it. So if you are, please leave a comment below and say, yeah, we want to hear some reviews on Australian whiskey, or see some Australian whiskey bottlings, and you know, if there's enough interest there, we'll crack them open and give them a taste test. All right, until next time, this is Rock from the Whisky Library. Thanks for staying tuned. Bye.